Hey everybody, Josh here. Let me tell you a secret. There's 3 ways that you can make money in your business. Number 1, you can get new clients. Number 2, you can get more money from your current clients. Or number 3, you can do both. Actually, there is a 4th one, which is increase the frequency at which your clients buy. And my software, SendJim, accomplishes all of those things and more. Now, I don't want to be a broken record, but you owe it to yourself to take a peek. This Thursday, I'm showing what SendJim does. It's a whole suite of multiple different features that accomplish those things very well. With Radius Bomb, you can hyper-target an exact perfect neighborhood using a map, even down to a single home, and send them a whole sequence, a series of direct mail postcards. With Voicemail Bomb, you can deliver ringless voicemails to your current customers, even in the future, to remind them of appointments or thank them after a job is done. And with the SendJim Core product, you can send gifts and greeting cards and all kinds of goodies to your employees. You can send gift cards. You can send them to VIPs, to influencers, to people that help you grow your business. Now, this is really powerful stuff, and I want you to go to sendjim.io/pre-launch and sign up for the webinar. If you listen to this podcast later, you can still go to that URL and we'll throw a replay link up there. But there's a special offer and it's going to go away very soon. Go to sendjim.io/pre-launch. I'll see you there.
Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can?
Hey everybody, Josh here with the Quick Talk Podcast. I am excited to introduce you to someone that has an absolutely incredible story. And doing this podcast is really cool. You know, I have such a unique position. I get to meet all these people from all over the world. And now as the podcast has grown, we're reaching people all over the world in all 50 states. We've had over 150,000 downloads, and it's amazing. And I got the opportunity to meet Elena Ledoux, via email, because she's a listener of the show. And after I learned more about her and got to know her, I knew that she had to be on the podcast because she's really accomplished some things that will probably seem impossible to some of you guys in such a short period of time. Currently, she's in Las Vegas, Nevada. She has a maid service company, and she has 43 employees. It's only 2 years old, and they're almost to $100,000 a month in revenue. They're growing like a complete rocket ship. On top of that, she was born in the Soviet Union originally, moved to the States, got her degree in law, lived in Hawaii for a decade, only then to move to Las Vegas to start this maid service. What a crazy, weird story. For you, Elena, I'm sure that it's normal. But for the average, boring person in the Midwest of the United States, that's an amazing thing. Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much, Joshua. I mean, you made me sound better than I actually am, but I really appreciate you, and thank you.
You're welcome. Well, that's my job. I have to make it sound epic, but in your case, it actually really is. I know it probably feels normal to you, but people have businesses for 15 or 20 years and don't even get to 10 or 20 or $30,000 a month in revenue. And look, it's not all about the revenue, but that I just understand how the math works with these things, and that is an incredibly fast pace that you've grown your company. Give us a little brief overview of the company and what you guys are doing now and what's happened in the last 2 years.
Well, the company is called Superb Maids. We started it almost exactly 2 years ago. And the reason for that was because my best childhood friend immigrated to U.S. at that time, and she asked me to find her a job. And she was an architect back in our home country of Uzbekistan, and she doesn't speak English, and she doesn't drive a car. I mean, she does now, but at that time she didn't, and she had no assets to speak of. So I said, it's going to be very difficult for me to find you a job. So the only kind of choice we had is to start this business, because we all know how to clean, at least our own homes. And I came across some information online by post on Reddit talking about the businesses and how, it's not that hard to start. So we invested about $1,000 total and used our own home cleaning supplies and our own vacuums, and just were terrified when we started and did that first job. Just absolutely terrified because we didn't know what we were doing, and we hired a cleaning person who had 6 months of experience. So she was really experienced in our eyes, and so she could guide us. And so we did the first cleaning ourselves, and we cleaned ourselves for, I believe, about the first 6 months, and then we started getting employees, and just all went uphill from there.
What a crazy thing. So your friend needs a job, and so you decide to build a company with 42 extra additional jobs for all of her other friends, or what? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But that's insane. So $1,000 to start. You go out, don't know what you're doing. You have one employee who's cleaned properties for 6 months, and they're like your expert on staff, and then you started doing it. Well, how in the world do you get to $90,000 a month in such a short period of time?
Well, we try to study the market a little bit. In the beginning, I saw that a lot of companies were cutting corners. I mean, I even hired somebody to clean my parents' condo, and they did pretty subpar job. And so I sort of learned I read the Yelp comments on the competition to see what their weaknesses were. There's a lot of, not just the cleaning thoroughness problems, but mostly communication, customer service problems. So I figured if we can kind of dominate on that skill set, then we can own the market. And so, and customers do appreciate a great customer service. I mean, they just love it.
Do you feel that your experience being a lawyer gave you any kind of advantage starting a service company, being maybe that you're analytical or you're strategic in the way that you think? Because it's really funny. You're totally correct. Like, focusing on the basics really does work. I don't know, sometimes people miss that. Just really high levels of communication, over-delivering on the service, really being outstanding, actually doing an amazing job, having great customer service. If that's what you did and it's working at this level, why do you think so many other companies struggle?
It's a good question. I think, I believe that it does make sense to kind of analyze, and a lot of times people ask me, what's the magic trick? I mean, what have you done? And there is no magic trick. I even talk to our customers in the same way, and I tell them, sometimes they say, you guys are 40%, 50%, 100% more expensive than your competition. So how do you justify it, and why is it that you're worth it? And I always tell them, there is no magic in cleaning. There's no magic trick. If you want to do a good job, you just have to grind it out. So you have to go in there and spend the time, spend the care. And we usually spend 40, 50%, 100% more time and effort on each property. We really do. And even though we don't have a deep cleaning service per se, every single clean we do is a deep clean. Like, it includes the AC vents, it includes the ceiling fans, we vacuum up the dead bugs from your window tracks. And it's always included. So we don't kind of nickel and dime, but we just charge for the whole thing. And it appears expensive, but it's actually great value. So it's the same kind of principle when it comes to actually executing the business and on the business promises. There's no magic. You just have to do it. And, cliches are cliches for a reason, right? So any cliche you can think of applies here.
That is really, really, really good stuff, because, I view the maid service industry, because I wasn't in that particular industry, but I have lots of listeners, lots of friends in it. But it's a highly commoditized market, meaning consumers are trained to be really price sensitive. At least this is how I perceive it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if they get a quote to get their house cleaned for $40 and the other person quotes it for $35, consumers just would pick the $35 thing. I mean, maybe you've really found a hole in the market where you've just created your own category and said, no, we're $65 and here's why, and we're the best in the world. And then if you actually deliver on that, which is easy to do when you're getting the right amount of money so that your cleaner can stay there and do everything required, maybe that's resonating with a part of the market. I mean, is that what's happening?
Yes, and when we started, we were actually pretty cheap. We're almost free now that I think about it. And what happened was the quality that we're delivering, the clients demanded more and more. So we had most clients are really nice and kind of very low key, but then you have once in a while this difficult client, and they will say, I remember this one lady from Hawaii, coincidentally, she said, you missed this. There's a little bit of dust on top of the light, in that crevice between the light plate and light switch plate and the wall. And so you can't really see it, and it sort of is there. And so she made us go through that house probably like 7 more times, and I caught every single thing that was wrong with it. And we came back over and over just because we were still trying to deliver on our promise. And we became so much better as cleaners from that experience. And I realized that if we just set the bar high, high enough for these demanding clients, then the undemanding clients will be, happy anyways, and then demanding clients as well. But to do that, we had to charge more because it just takes a lot more time to meet those demands.
People are scared to charge what their service is really worth. They're scared. I mean, I don't know about you, but the first time you gave that really high quote early in the first year, were you nervous about it? How did you justify it? Are your uniforms nicer? Is your literature nicer? Is your sales pitch a little better? Or is it just you communicating and explaining to the client that you are absolutely over the top detailed, and then they get that? So my question is, were you nervous when you went for the high price first time, and how do you justify it to the client?
We're gradually increasing the prices, and we had people laugh in our face, more than once at our prices, because definitely you can find somebody, like illegal immigrants to clean it for, basically pennies. And so they're saying, why should I hire you guys? And then to me, I internally justified that not everybody has to be our client. So because we can't do a shoddy job, and therefore, to do a really great job, we have to charge. I can't do it for free, right? So I have to do a good job, and I have to charge appropriately. And so some people, there's this layer of the market that understands that, and they look for that. And so that's the layer I want to service. So if somebody who's extremely cheap or extremely, like I myself, I'm very cheap. So I can relate to that sentiment. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to go and, go to one of those really fantastic restaurants here in Las Vegas that cost hundreds of dollars per person, per meal. If I don't want to pay the money for it, so.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think all of us are cheap with some things, and we're premium with other things, and we don't even realize it. But my wife is very thrifty. She shops at like Goodwill and the little dollar stores and stuff. It's like her hobby. She thinks it's so fun to go find a deal. But there's certain things for all of us that we're willing to spend a premium on, and the cleaning market's no different. What's really cool is that there's a whole, I like the word you said, layer. There's a layer of people out there that are more value conscious rather than price sensitive with cleaning, particularly because they've been frustrated. They've had 10 cleaners over the last 10 years and nobody ever quite is there. Well, if you're that premium company and you make a high promise and you are priced to be able to deliver that promise, you're going to be like a hero to these people. And plus, all these other companies, they can't even compete with it because they're not aware. I think that our pricing is like a magnet. And if you have low-level pricing, you're a magnet to the certain type of buyer. And if you have high-level premium pricing and you can back it up, you're a magnet to these other people. And look, in 2 years to get up to $90,000 a month in reoccurring revenue is ridiculous, Elena. I mean, that's not normal. You know that, right? You know that's not normal.
I know.
So it sounds like the basics are working, high level of communication and customer service, but also what I'm really picking up on is you just had the guts to price it the right way, to do the job the right way. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. And I think our clients kind of shaped us. We're constantly evolving. I'm just not afraid to change. So if something makes sense, we'll just test it out, we try it, and then if it seems to make sense, and customers don't flinch. We just recently raised the prices for certain category of homes that are, on the larger side, and we increased, our revenue even more from that. So we got more customers, and we're very busy. So I guess one of the main principles that we have is not everybody has to be our client. And so we're very discriminating when it comes to clients. So if somebody, for example, is a racist or sexist or a very unpleasant person in general, we just don't service them. I apologize to them. I say, I'm very sorry. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for, giving us a call or a try, but we cannot help you. And so same applies for people who are cannot truly afford our service at the level of service that they want. And so I apologize and I let them go.
Well, I think that's awesome. And what's coming naturally to you, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. They're living in fear. They're freaked out to raise their prices. They don't know what to do. They're so desperate to get new clients. They take anybody. But what you've done is you found true product market fit. And product market fit is a term used more with like physical products on Shark Tank or with software or something. But really, in the service industry, that's what you've done. Like when you said that you're willing to change and adapt and pivot, I think that's awesome because sometimes we don't change or adapt fast enough. Instead of getting mad at your first really picky customer, which is what 99% of people would do, you were really listening and learning from that scenario. You also mentioned in our pre-interview, Elena, that you yourself are obsessed with learning, that you consume a lot of content. Tell us about that and how that's helped you.
Well, that's probably when you're asking me what's my passion and what's my talent. I think the only thing I'm really, really good at is at learning because I had to do it my entire life. I'm just amazed by the amount of information because I'm come from the age where there was no internet. There was barely a computer, at least in my home country. And so to have this access to an amazing, a vast amount of information, that's just mind-blowing to me. And when I came across your podcast, and I think it was recommended by someone in one of those Facebook groups for business owners, which is a treasure trove by itself, I started listening to it and I couldn't believe the information. It was just gold. It was just pure gold to me. And I said, I can't believe that people just talk about that, how to run the business, how they do things. What are the challenges, and it makes you feel, first of all, that you're not alone because you always feel like, that the horrible customer that you're dealing with, and this is, only is reserved for you, or that difficult employee or like difficult problem that, your company or your employees caused that's it. It's just for you. It's not what everybody else is experiencing. Once you read that or listen about that, it's amazing. It's inspirational. The other podcast that I'm listening to is How I Built This by Guy Raz, I think, on NPR. So it opens your mind to what's possible. I mean, to come from, I think that's where my background is actually relevant, where if you don't have a lot of opportunity growing up, like to go through the ceiling and to be what you truly want to be, and then all of a sudden you're in the land of opportunity, you can do anything you want to, literally. It's just amazing. And once I was a lawyer and I didn't think much about it. I loved doing this, actually. It was, you get to argue and you get paid well for it. But to listen to some of these stories from entrepreneurs is so inspirational. And you think, why can't I do this? I can do this. This doesn't sound complicated.
Yes, well, look, success is not easy, but it's also not complicated. I haven't said that one in a while. If you listen to my podcast, I love quotes, right? But it's not like you can't do it. It's just that a lot of people won't do it. You said you're obsessed with learning. I mean, you went to law school, you moved countries. I'm sure that you learn at a higher capacity than the average, person. I mean, you've had a really cool life. But the really important part that I'm getting out of this is that you're also good at applying. You're not just consuming content. You did it. Like you took your $1,000, you took your friend who doesn't speak English, you took your vacuum, you just started vacuuming stuff for people and going crazy and then they complained and you were confused, and then you had your 6-month employee that had 6 months of experience and they probably gave you a couple tips and you just started doing it. You went out there, you started. People hesitate. People listen to podcasts too much and don't take enough action. And you haven't done that. I think it's amazing. So there's another couple really important questions I really want to pick your brain on. Number one is the employee deal, okay? Because having 43 employees, that's a significant amount of staff. I'm sure a lot of them are part-time. I'm sure maybe you have some turnover and stuff like that being in the maid service. How do you deal with that? Because that is the biggest bottleneck for a lot of people that do get their company to grow, and it holds people back. How are you handling it so far? What have been some things you've experienced with employees in your business journey?
Well, definitely dealing with employees is probably the biggest challenge for our company. And, for me personally, this is something I can't say. I mean, it's very rewarding And at the same time, it's very, very challenging and I've learned so much from just running this business. I learned more from 2 years of running the business than I've done in all my previous years of schooling combined and my other job, So I would say again, with every difficult employee, just like with every difficult client, we learn something and we try to grow and adapt. Our basic overriding principle is we're treating employees like, I know it's cliche to say like a family, but we do literally treat them like a family. For instance, if an employee is sick, I'm the first one and sometimes the only one, there's no family when you want in the hospital room. I bring them fruits, I bring them, magazines, I hold their hand, and I don't just do it one time just to show my face. I actually follow through and I go again. I make sure they get the proper care. And, we just generally as a company, we just do that stuff. If employee, for example, gets there, sometimes we onboard an employee and they come from kind of impoverished background and they're kind of dry of cash. So their water gets shut down or electricity shut down. We help them with the bills. We give them advances. We bring them food for their family. So we sort of try to get them over the hump, over that difficult situation. And then once they are relaxed and earning quite a good money and happy, you can see them thriving eventually. They move into nice apartment, they buy a new car, they go on vacations, they're very happy. We help them pursue their passions as well. I think it was one of your podcasts, I talked about the Dream Manager book. And
yes.
So I've read it. I read it and I thought it was kind of a little bit cheesy, but I'll give it a try because I wanted to see what it's like. And a lot of our employees, they dream about buying a home. And so, a lot of times they're independent cats because we're quite scattered all over the city. Sometimes I don't see them for months at a time. And so I sent this email to them saying, we have this new home buyer assistance program where I'm going to help you buy a home. We'll put you together with experts. We'll contribute to the down payment. We'll help you save the money. And I sort of kind of laid it out there. And it made a huge... no one said anything, but within like few days, I started getting these inquiries from my employees saying, I've heard this, I've read this. And whenever we talk about company loyalty or company culture, they always bring it up, which is amazing. It's just one simple email. A lot of them are not ready yet to buy the home. But the fact that we as a company think about that and we've always thought that way anyways. We always try to help them. For instance, I tell them, like, if you tell me which days you want to work, because you have a personal life and it matters more. Your kids and your husband and your hobbies are more important than your job. So I realized that. So you just tell me which days you want to work and then you come and work. Once you commit to that, you just show up. And I won't ask you a question why you don't show up on that other day. I really don't care. I know you have a life, just like all of us. So.
Wow. Let me break in. You're doing too many gold nuggets in a row. This is out of control. It's really, really good stuff packed in there, Elena, for real. First of all, the Dream Manager book, which I have not read still, shame on me, was first brought up by Lisa McQueen, which Lisa is a total rock star, right? She's awesome. Right. They're going to do $7 million this year in revenue in Australia. Wow. And she's just such a nice person, very inspirational. And then Brian Hegarty, who's been on my show and has an employee course at bootcamp.automategrowsell.com.
Yes, it was excellent.
Yes. Brian read the book, applied it. It changed so much for him. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So everybody, go get the Dream Manager. But here's the gist of what she's saying is that she cares about these people. She cares about them. I think we forget as business owners that we're not just marketers and salesmen to our clients trying to get money from them. But we're marketers and salespeople to our staff. And if you can flip your mentality from being a taker, how do I get money? How do I get money? How do I get this employee to work harder? How do I take? How do I get more? If you can flip it to how do I give more? How do I serve more? How do I communicate more? How do I love them better? All of the other stuff happens automatically, right? I mean, it sounds like you've experienced that. You hear me talk about that stuff, but you've lived that for the last 2 years. These people know that you care about them. You're at the hospital with them. What a profound thing.
Well, yes, and it also helps so much because they bring their family to work for us, they bring their friends to work for us. One of the employees worked for us for all of, I believe, 2 weeks, if not more, and she realized it's too physical for her, so she left. And then she ended up going to Catholic Charities, and she helps people find jobs. So she sends a lot of people to us, for, I'm not going to say we hired, all of them, but some of the best employees that we got came from her.
Well, let's move into quality. How do you manage, quality control with all these people? I know you said your employees work remotely, right? They go from their home, they have a route that they go and they clean these homes. In the beginning of the podcast, we talked about how the level of service is really high, right? You guys are the best.
Correct.
You are so attention to detail. How are you managing that with so many people all over the place every day?
Well, I think, as a company, you can set the culture as the company owner. If they see, it's like being a parent. If they see that you're, obsessed about quality, or it's in high kind of priority, then they will also kind of emulate that from you because they look up to you. So if you're kind of laissez-faire about it, that's how they're going to feel about it. And so eventually you start, that's a culture. And the people who coming in, for example, that are new and they don't understand it, or they refuse to obey by that, the company squeezes them out. Not me. I don't have to do any firing because my employees, if they see the person is underperforming, they squeeze them out. I don't want to say, it sounds really bad, but they start saying like, I don't want to work with that person. That's another thing that we have, another rule that we have that's unique to our company. As an employee, you can always tell me, you can even text me if you're not comfortable talking about it, saying, please don't schedule me with this person. And it's the reason for that is because of cultural differences sometimes, people, or personality differences. So you're never stuck working with someone you don't like or admire. And so eventually, if no one wants to work with someone, that means there's a big, quality problem usually. And if it's personality issue, then I just schedule them to work by themselves. But if it's quality issue, then we know, it's a bad sign because it usually coincides with customer complaints as well. So,
are you doing like weekly team meetings? Do you do it like a conference call or something like that? How do you communicate with them as a whole, or do individual coaching? Do you do any kind of customer surveys or something? It does sound like a great idea that you send them out in pairs of twos typically, and you're driving the culture. They know quality is important. What happens if it starts to slip? Do you have systems or things that you do to try to manage it?
We're kind of deficient in that regard because we started as a really tiny company and we never needed. And I sort of liked it about Maid business. You don't need to lease an office. You don't need to buy anything expensive. It's just a very, very low cost, a low risk business. But now that we're gotten so big, we're actually thinking that the culture could be improved. For example, I would love to, cook breakfast for my employees once in a while and have meetings. I was actually thinking about having like a daycare that's free for our employees because that seems to be a biggest headache for a lot of our, employees and who are parents. So for that, you'll need an office. So we were just approved by an SBA for a loan that's sufficient to buy a building. And I found the building. We're still working through financials, but basically, I think having an office would be super helpful in that regard. And, we can do a lot of fun things for culture-wise. Otherwise, we just have parties, company parties. That's all.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, congrats on that, too. Look, 2 years into the business, you're going to have $1 million business at the end of this year, maybe more if you keep growing. You're going to have your own building. It's amazing. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
And plus, you're adding value to the listeners as well. Last thing I want to talk about is marketing. So you have to go sell all these jobs. I'm guessing that when you're that unique of a company, if the quality really is as high as you're talking about, and you're that responsive if there's an issue, the word of mouth must be out of control. Is that the only thing you've done to grow, or are you doing other things?
We do all kinds of things. We currently get 70% of our business from referrals by family and friends. But Yelp has been big for us, although they sometimes can be very arbitrary in what reviews they display, and that's kind of aggravating, but it's a different story. And then we are top rated on Yelp and top rated on Google as well for all of our relevant search terms. So we do SEO. I would say for the marketing, and I talked to my partner about it too, that the best revenue source is our current clients. So the better job we do, the busier we're going to be. I also do in-person networking for one of our clients. Actually ended up being ahead of this group for realtors, servicing like something like 1,800 realtors. They have vendors group, which is very small, but they're all exclusive. So he made me join this after we did the job for him, which I didn't know who he was. He invited me to that group, and we work with a lot of realtors and a lot of vendors with cross referrals, so that's been helping as well. We do Airbnb rentals as well, because they're usually, each client has multiple properties, so that's been helpful.
Very good. You're doing all kinds of stuff. You're a maniac, and plus you have 2 kids and a husband. And it was funny when we first introduced ourselves to each other. You mentioned how your husband is a business person.
Yes, he is.
So I just assumed, I said, well, okay, that's why Elena succeeded, because her husband just did all the work and he has all these experiences and he knows what to do. But that's not what happened at all, is it? Tell us about that.
Yes, so my husband is actually a seasoned kind of veteran entrepreneur, and he's on top of being like the most interesting man in the world. Like, he's done it all. And he told me when I first brought up the idea to him that it was a terrible idea, because he said, you don't know how to professionally clean a home, and you've never run a business, and the market in Las Vegas is such is that there's a lot of illegal immigrants here, and so they're going to underbid you and over deliver compared to what you can do. And so and I'm always tempted to listen to authority, but at the same time, always try to make an independent judgment, analytical being, as I am. And so we just give it a try, because I figured it's such a small, risk. We're not risking anything but, our vacuum cleaner, $1,000. We give it a try. And so finally he admitted about a year into it that I wasn't wrong about too many things in my life, but he said I was wrong about my wife, and I was also wrong about there's this other thing. When he worked for Sony back in his young days, he rejected a home karaoke machine as a project for Sony. He thought it was the silliest idea ever, and it turned out to be a wrong decision. And so I'm the second project that he was wrong about.
Well, that must have been a party. You were like doing a dance inside your head when he finally admitted that Elena is rocking it and she's totally awesome at this business. That's very cool. What can you offer maybe a young business or even a seasoned business that is having trouble growing? They're stuck. It just feels like it's taken forever. They hear an interview with someone like you and they just throw their hands up in the air and say, "Good grief, 2 years, she's doing so well." What can you do to encourage them or give them some pieces of advice?
Well, the one advice I would say is that saying that you always say in the beginning of a podcast that I love, which is the God created all the food for the birds, but he didn't put it in their nest. So yes. I think I love that. I think that's one of the principles that I admire and try to follow. You have to do it. You can't just. Sometimes I have a few people who reached out to me over these last 2 years and asked for advice, and I would say some people who follow the advice and actually do what I recommend that I learned, for example, they do really, really well. And then some people, they listen to advice, they seem to agree to it, but they still doing the same old thing that they've always done. And that doesn't work that way. You have to actually change, and it's very painful and uncomfortable to change, but that's the only way.
That's right. Amen to that, Elena, because we are designed as business owners, or at least we're supposed to be designed to learn how to live in a perpetual state of discomfort, at least for a while. You have to be outside your comfort zone. Things are scary. There's tons of fear. There's self-limiting beliefs. And other times you feel like you can conquer the world and you're highly motivated, and then you fall back and you feel like it's all never going to work and all that. But living in that place of uncertainty is where we need to be. And Tony Robbins says it best. He says that your level of personal success is directly proportionate to the amount of uncertainty that you're comfortable living with. And I'm guessing, being that you grew this so fast in only 2 seasons, that you couldn't even sit and fear or be fearful and worry about the 40 employees you were going to hire and all these customers you were just moving so quick. You were in a perpetual state of motion and action. It just kind of happened, and now you have this big foundation and lots of momentum. I think it's awesome. So, hey, everybody, Quick Talk listeners, don't be just a listener. Don't just be a learner. Go apply this stuff. There's nothing more frustrating than even people that listen to this podcast or people that have even paid a lot of money to be in my boot camp that don't really apply the stuff. It's like they feel like they're doing something by reading and learning and listening and watching, but you're not. You're only doing stuff when you have the knot in your stomach and you're applying it in your life. Do you agree, Elena?
Absolutely. It reminds me of my mom my mom and my dad immigrated to US about the same time. And so my dad started talking to everybody in his horrible English, and gesticulating and butchering the language. And my mom, she was so worried about being perfect. And she bought all these courses and she did the tutoring, but she never applied the language when she was out somewhere. And guess who's, learned English the fastest and became the most fluent?
That is a really good analogy. Yes, just take imperfect action. Go get it. Elena, hey, you just inspired several thousand people today. And for that, I thank you very much. Is there any way people can, connect with you on social media or something?
Yes, you can always email me, elena@superbmaids.net, or you can go to our website, superbmaids.net, and I put a lot of work in it. It's just some ideas that I learned from somewhere else, so you can just check it out and hopefully apply it to your own business.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time. Go to elena@superbmaids.net, and you know what? None of us made all this stuff up, Elena. I learned it too. But I applied it, and that's why I had success, and you're applying it, and that's why you're having success. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, everybody. Just go do what works. Thank you so much for your time, Elena. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much, Joshua.
So I just hung up with Elena, and I went ahead and shot over to her website, superbmaids.net, not .com, .net. I just wanted to check it out, and I was so impressed. Here's this lady who's practiced law for 10 years after immigrating from a different country, learning English. Imagine even doing that. Like, imagine you moving to a foreign country, learning a language, and becoming a lawyer in that country. What a massive thing. And then just starting a company and scaling it to $90,000 a month with 43 employees in 2 years, actually less than 2 years. That is an incredible thing. And I can tell you, especially after looking at this website and talking to Elena, it didn't just happen. This girl is working her butt off, and she's really honed in on who her company is. And I typically don't do like a commentary after an interview, but I thought this could be valuable. When you land on her webpage, it says, "You deserve a clean home. Book in 60 seconds." She's got a very clean design. There's a call to action right at the top. Right below that, it says 5-star rated maids voted as best house cleaning service in Las Vegas in 2016. That is called positioning your authority. So she has an authority statement right at the top. Then she has some pictures of what I'm assuming are her team members, her staff, real pictures, which is super cool because it humanizes it. Don't use stock photos on your website. And look, I'm no web expert, but this website just gets it, man. I'm telling you. And then it talks about what her company's about and that trust is their paramount value. And then it has a whole bunch of social proof stuff. And it has what are called trust badges. The Best of Las Vegas badge, expertise, best house cleaners in Vegas, a different badge, the Super Service Award from Angie's List. Those are some trust badges, and then another call to action. So it's really cool. I think you should check out her website. It's really nice. And for someone to do something so quickly, I just wonder, what are we waiting for? What are we standing around waiting for? If Elena would have spent the last 2 years overthinking and over-strategizing, her company wouldn't be anywhere remotely near where it is now. She's just been taking action the whole time. From $1,000 in startup money with her own vacuum and a friend that didn't even speak English to where they are in less than 2 years. This is a testament to the power of getting over yourself, getting over your fear, and going for it for real. So I want to encourage you. And look, I'm speaking to myself too. I still have self-limiting beliefs with my new businesses, with things I'm working on that are really, really, really big visions and all that. And we need to level up. We need to just go for it. We need to jump off. And as I like to say, being an entrepreneur is like jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down. And Elena has done that very thing, and she is flying. And so can you. Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.